Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 132. Today I'm going to talk about Suburbia. This is from Bezier Games and Lookout Spiel. And this game plays 1 to 4 players in about 90 minutes, and that is accurate, I believe. It's a kind of a oddball little game. It has some economic issues in it where you have to keep track of your money and sort of the reputation and the population that your little suburb is going to be generating. And you're going to be placing tiles, sort of like in a Carcassonne, not really, but more of a Glen More fashion if you've played that game. So as you collect tiles and add them to your suburb, when you place the tile, it's going to have an effect, and then all the tiles around it may have an effect. There may be tiles in other people's suburbs that have an effect. And then you're going to gain money and reputation and population, and you're going to have to kind of manage that and not grow too quickly without having the money and sort of the reserves and reputation and income to back it up. So it's got a nice lot of little elements to it. It's very, very thematic. Each tile that you place is going to be like a restaurant or an airport or housing projects or any number of different things. There's quite a few good variety. And they all kind of make sense. So when you place a fancy restaurant, for example, your income's going to go up by 3 because it's, you know, it's a fancy restaurant, it's a new hot restaurant in town. But it has the condition that anytime anybody builds a restaurant, your income is going to go down by 1 because, you know, you put up a fancy restaurant and then your buddy next door to you puts in a McDonald's or another fancy restaurant, then your restaurant isn't as cool anymore. And then like a freeway, if you build a freeway next to a residential area, that's going to lower your reputation. At least I think it does. I think I'm remembering that correctly. But I'll show you the tiles in a minute. So yeah, you never want to build a freeway next to residential. People don't like that. So it's got all these kind of nice things, and so the way that you sort of zone your suburb is going to be very important. You don't want to just mash everything randomly because then the effects aren't going to be as great. So let me show you a little bit about how it plays, and then I'll come back and tell you more what I think. Okay, so here I've got sort of a 1-player game in progress. Now I have played this with 1, 2, 3, and 4 people, and I actually just now sat down a little bit ago before making the video to, you know, try out the solitaire because I hadn't tried that out yet. And I will say, for the solitaire, because I know there are people that are interested in solitaire games, that the you don't want to go into it half-baked because it will whip your booty. So I went into it because I'd actually been doing pretty well. You know, I'd been teaching people the game, so I have a little bit more experience. And so I'd either done quite well in a game or been winning the games that I played. So I kind of just went kind of haphazard into this and then roundly got my butt kicked. So you can see each player here has a player board, and this is where you're going to be building your suburb from. Now you're going to be tracking income here with this little cylinder, and then you start at 0, and then you have a reputation here, and this is this little cube here. So after you take your turn, which is simply just usually buying a tile or maybe upgrading a tile, you're going to collect however much income you have, and then you're going to gain points or population. Populations are your points based on where you are here. So at the end of my turn I get $4. And then I get 3 points. Now it is very possible to go negative. So at the end of my turn here I would lose $1 and lose 3 points. So if I didn't have money to pay, I'd have to lose points for every dollar that I couldn't pay into the bank. Now if we look here, there's a center spot here to the board. So let me just move these tiles slightly here, like so. And every player is going to start with these 3 tiles like so. So you've got a suburb, a community park, and a heavy factory. So you can see even these basic tiles here have indicative characteristics that are available in the rest of the tiles. So in the game you're going to be getting more and more tiles, and you're basically going to be paying this cost here. So in this case it's $3, $4, and then $3, plus possibly some more money, which I'll explain in a minute. And then you're going to immediately place the tile somewhere adjacent. So you have to place the tile basically flush with one of the edges like so. When you do that, you're going to look here in the corner, you're going to take that effect immediately. That's basically plus 2 population, plus 2 points. This one is -1 on the income. It's a community park. You know, you need maintenance and income to keep the park nice. And you've got the heavy factory here, which is going to be +1 on your income because factories generate the economy and create jobs. So you're going to take this effect immediately. Not all the tiles have an immediate effect. And then you're going to look here at the bottom of the tile and then execute that effect. So this community park, since it's nice, it gives people pleasure, you're going to get +1 reputation for each adjacent of these types. So simply, yellow tiles are industrial, green is residential, blue is commercial, but you can just refer to them as colors. I found that everybody actually does refer to it as its thematic name because everything really, really fits well thematically here. So you maybe place the tile here, and then you do the immediate action, and then you kind of check adjacency like so. So for example, if I got this fancy restaurant, which I mentioned earlier, I'm going to get +3 income, and then I'm going to check anything around it and go, oh, he gives me +1 reputation for each adjacent of these. He's blue, he gives me +1 for blue, so this one will trigger again. So there's a lot of like buying a tile, placing it, doing its action, looking around it, and then seeing any actions. And there are a few tiles, like this farm, for example. You get -1 reputation, which I don't quite understand. I guess nobody wants a farm in their suburb. This is sort of a vanilla, idealized 1950s suburb. I don't know. The game has some messages, but I'm not sure that they're that, I wouldn't get too worked up about them, you know. But it's kind of funny to discuss some of the tiles. So you get the -1 reputation for farm, and then you get +1 for every restaurant. And that's everybody's restaurant in all the suburbs. So you need to check, and then also keep in mind, when other people buy a restaurant later, this is going to trigger again. So if Bill buys a restaurant, I need to be keep my eyes open. So the game can kind of bog down. You go, oh crap, you know, 2 turns have gone by and I never got my +1. How much income is that? It's not too bad, and it's going to go away after your first or second play. And there's also icons here, so you can see that this has a little fork and knife, and so you can see that, oh, this is going to interact with anything with this symbol, and here's a restaurant like so. So that's nice as well. So how do you get these tiles here? So most of the time you're going to buy a tile from this little row under the center display here. And if you buy a tile from these right 2 spaces here, you're just going to pay the face-up amount. So that's going to be $12, basically +0. However, if you wanted to leap ahead, you got to pay a little bit more. So this one here is 9. You can see that's $9 +4, so it would be $13 like so. So you buy that, add it to your little borough, your suburb, and then you're going to draw a tile off the stack. So you've got an A, B, and C stack here. And so I would kind of call A the restaurant stack and C the political or civic stack. It's kind of general, but there is going to be a sort of a gradual change, and it's very thematic how, you know, maybe you have a sort of a small town atmosphere at the beginning, and then, you know, you get into more and more complex buildings as you go up. So you buy a tile, shift everything to the right, and then replace a new tile from the top of one of those stacks. And the game is going to end, or trigger the end, when you draw this tile here, which is shuffled somewhere in the bottom part of the C. So after you draw that, you're going to complete the round and then take one more round. And basically whoever has this is the start player, and this is just to keep track of that so that everybody gets an equal number of turns. This is a cool start player marker, by the way. So we said that whoever is the winner gets to build a skyscraper in their suburb, whether they like it or not. So that's the basic way you get a tile. You buy it and then you put it in your suburb. Next thing you can do is you can buy one of these basic tiles. And these are the 3 tiles that you start with at the beginning of the game. There's only 4 of these, no matter how many players there are, and you buy it and add it to your suburb. But when you buy one of these, you also have to basically kind of burn one of these. So let's say I bought a suburb, added it to my borough, and then I could burn this PR firm. Well, that's fine because it's free. But if I wanted to burn something up a little bit higher that maybe, you know, somebody else was really going to want, I think they're going to want it, like this boutique, for example, he's going to give me +1 income and then +1 reputation for each adjacent suburb. So I see he's got a nice area of suburbs built. He's going to get a nice bump on his reputation. I maybe buy a suburb, and then I pay $4 then to burn this one. So where it is in line, you pay the amount on the board here to burn it, and then again we shift it down. So anything you do on your turn is going to cause something to be removed from here no matter what you do. Next thing you might do is you might turn one of these into a lake. So you can see on the back of these, doesn't matter A, B, C, whatever, you've got this here, it says $0, and you get $2 for each adjacent yellow, gray, green, and blue building. So I'm going to take that, and it's going to be free unless it's under one of these again. So if I wanted to turn this into a lake, then I got to pay $2. If it was one of these, then it would just be free because it's always 0. Then I'll place that on my board. Now the thing that's cool about this part, about turning these into a lake, as well as buying one of these basic ones, is the ability to deny other players, directly attack those players, hurt their little sort of zoning that they've got going, and you need to be able to, you know, hurt them. So this is a nice way, especially as you get experience and start to learn a little bit about how to deal with the variability about how these tiles come out and make very tactical and opportunistic choices. Really like this aspect of the game. So you're going to take that, turn it into a lake, and then now you've denied somebody, and now you've added a lake. So I've got a lake here. I'm going to take and place that here, and that says $2 for each adjacent of these colors. So that's 2, 4, $6, and that's just actual cash. I get the cash here like so, and that goes right into my supply. And again, if I build another building here, if I build this one here, that's immediately going to trigger that, so I'll get another $2. Finally, the last thing you can do is you can invest, okay? And you have 3 of these investment tokens like so. You've got 1, 2, 3, and these are 2 times multipliers. Each person gets 3, and you can take on your turn and invest in something that you've already built. And this is another way, another nice new mechanic here. So I could even, if I wanted to, invest in this lake. So to invest, you basically pay the face-up amount. So in the case of a lake, I could pay 0 and put 2 times there. So that means I basically redo everything about the tile. So I do that, so I get another $2. 2, 4, 6, 8. And then when I place a new one, I'm going to do it twice. 2, 4. So each new tile is going to give me 4. Okay, so if we look here at the fancy restaurant, it's a little bit more of a risk. If I invest in that fancy restaurant, I'm going to get another +3 on my income. But then, for all restaurants built after this one, instead of -1, I'm going to lose -2. So you do in the investment action, and then you're going to have to burn another tile. And again, burning a tile is just simply discarding it like so, and then paying the amount there, if you want to discard something up higher up. So that's a lot of options on your turn, but it's not very difficult. You basically buy a tile, you get a lake, you invest, or you buy one of the basic tiles. And then at the end of your turn, after you've done that, then you're going to get the income, like I said. So wherever you're at on income, you get that much amount, and then wherever you're at on reputation, you get that many points. So here's your point board, and this is basically your population here. So everybody's going to start down here at the 2, and then you're going to work your way up. Well, the trick is, if you see these red lines here, every time you pass one of these red lines, you're going to drop 1 space on each of these. So I passed a red line just now. I'm going to drop 1 reputation and 1 income, and now I'm down. So if you're not careful, if you get too much reputation, too many people are coming to your town, you don't have the police force, the fire department, you don't have any of the trash men to maintain, you're going to be hurting eventually because you're going to go up too high, you're not going to have enough income, and your incomes are going to be dropping. Then once your income drops, you're not going to have enough money to buy cooling tiles, and your reputation is going to end up dropping. So you got to manage this really nicely. So again, if I pass the red line, they each drop 1. However, if I have a negative reputation or something causes me to lose population and I drop back down, then they're both going to go up 1. Okay, so that's basically the game. The rules are pretty short, and they also come with this nice little layout here that shows you all of the tiles that are in the game. Now every game you're not going to use every tile, so that makes it very, very nice. So but here you can have a description of all the A tiles, the B tiles, the C tiles. And then finally here we have the goals. And so these are going to be very important in the game. So here's a nice little layout of all the various goals in the game, and there's a nice thick stack of these. So what's going to happen in the game is we're going to take and we're going to put out 1 goal that's public for each player. So in a 3-player game you'd have 3 goals out like so, and then we're going to give each player 2 face-down goals, and they're going to take a look at these, and they're going to choose one and then put one back in the supply. Now, remember what I said about income being very important at the early part of the game. You also don't want to lose sight of these goals, because these goals can be quite huge, especially if you're able to score multiple of them. Let's just take a quick look at a couple of them just to give you an idea. So this one will give you 10 points if you have the most airports. This one will give you 20 points if you have the fewest residential. Somehow that makes you a capitalist. Here's a harbor master, plus 10 for the most contiguous lakes, like so. Here we go. Here's a miser, plus 15 for the lowest income. These are really hilarious, by the way. Here's a builder, plus 15 for the most residential. Environmentalist, plus 15 for the fewest production buildings. A billionaire, plus 10 for the most cash on hand. And there's a few other ones. Here we go. Here we go. Favorite one here. Socialist. Plus 10 for the fewest commercial buildings. And then you got an investor, you got all kinds of different things. So you can see some of these, you actually get the fewest points for having the fewest of something. So if we look at there's one that's a libertarian, that's another one I like. So if you have the fewest, here it is right here, the fewest political buildings or civic buildings, you are the libertarian, you get plus 15 points. So it's kind of nice. So you have to keep these in mind as you kind of see late in the game, towards the later part of the game, what people are building. You know what these goals are, and as you play the game, you're going to kind of learn what some of the other goals are that they may have hidden. So it makes it nice and sort of tactical and somewhat strategic there towards the end of the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. Now I played this with family group, gamer group, and then like I said, solitaire. It's been a big hit across the board. I will say, let me start with sort of the reservations I had kind of after my first play, and I was like, I'm enjoying the game, I'm enjoying the theme, but it felt like there was a little bit of luck involved into how those came out and sort of when they came out, what I was capable of doing to the tiles, you know, that are coming out. But after you play it a couple of times and you start to sort of see and have to learn to deal with how they come out, because there may not be a ton of reputation tiles that come out. So you may not be able to score a lot of points turn by turn and build up sort of a reserve of reputation that you can sort of, I call it like political capital, you know. So that's going to change up how you play the game. But as long as you can keep the income up and keep your sort of cash flow moving, that's going to allow you to deal with that row of tiles and be able to start denying people tiles that's really going to help them. And you can really, really punish people in this game in that way. And probably more so with less players, I would assume, but it seemed like I was able to do a lot of damage in a 4-player game that I played the other day. So, and I do seem to like it. You know, I kind of want to say, I've played it with every player count. I kind of want to say I like it with 2 the best, but I really still really like it with 3 and 4. You may be a little bit chaotic as far as that row of tiles coming out is going to change, and there's a lot of variability. You don't use every tile, like I said, but there's room to, as long as you adhere to principles of, you know, I've got to have my income. I want to try to build up a reserve of reputation so that when I does send me over those red lines and I drop down, I'm not dropping down to 0 or negative. And so it's cool, and everything is super thematic. You know, like I said, all the buildings are really cool. You know, and I think you could probably compare this to Urban Sprawl and other ones like that. It's definitely not as heavy of a game as Urban Sprawl. It's not as chaotic, I guess, but I think I like them both equally. I don't know about equally, geez. Who cares, right? I like them both, equally, smeekily. One plays in 90 minutes, one plays in 3 hours. And the one you play in 3 hours, you're all playing on the same city, and you're basically hosing the junk out of each other. And this one, you can hose each other a little bit, but you're kind of off in your own little burrow and stuff like that. So Urban Sprawl is not a game I could play with the family. This one I have been able to play with the family. They've loved it. I could play this with gamers. And the components are great. The little pictures on the tiles are great. I think people are going to get a lot out of this, and it fits that sort of perfect sort of medium area where it's very easy to pick up, and your turn options are limited in a mechanical sense. But there's some, you know, some stuff to chew on every turn. You know, do I just turn this into a lake? Oh, I'm kind of running out of money. You know, do I get the quick fix from the lake, or do I go buy this and then slowly build up my income and hope this by the time my turn comes around there's something else that'll help me get my income up even further. You know, I'm kind of going on and on here, but so I would definitely recommend this. I think a lot of people will get a lot of joy out of this game. And anyway, yeah, it's a good solid recommendation for me. Go get it. Thanks.